is going on, my money making family? It's your boy Jada on Trades with Team Bull Trading, and I hope you're all having an amazing day. Now today we're going to learn about, let me check my watch, time frames. We're going to go over the different types of time frames you can use while day trading, my personal favorites and how I find my levels using them, and some other real life examples we use trading today that made me a little under $4,000. Now, as always, if you enjoy free education, if you enjoy free watch lists, and if you get some value from this video, all I ask is you consider hitting that like and subscribe button in the bottom right corner. Let me know in the comments what I could have done better or what you want to learn next. And as always, with the real life examples you're about to see, we trade live and send signals on voice and text every single day in our premium Discord. The link to join is below in the description, as well as the link to the Team Bull Trading Academy. So with all that being said, let's dive in. So time frames, how do we use them and how can you best utilize them? Well, if you've been on this channel for a while, you know that my personal approach to teaching is real life examples, right? Obviously, I include some education from, books I've read, experience I've had in my 6 years of trading, but I love to show you guys real life examples because I feel like that's where the value really comes. So the 4 time frames I typically use are the 1 year, 1 day, the 1 hour, the 1 minute, and the 5 minute. Now we're going to go over how I use each of those and how they benefit my trading style and how they can benefit yours too. So first and foremost, the 1 year, 1 day. I use the 1 year, 1 day to find trends. Obviously, I never day trade on this. So for example, right, today I call that a Tesla 764 bounce. Now, how did I find that level? How did I find that we would come down and touch this level? There was a good probability we would come down and touch this level. Well, we look here for trends. Now, where do we see on this chart from a macro picture that we had a lot of area of confluence? We had resistance and support, right? Or resistance turn support in this case. We look back here. We touched on a daily chart once, 2, 3, 4, almost 5, 6, 7 times before having a huge breakthrough, bouncing this level twice, and then ripping up, right? So we go here, we're looking on a macro picture, we find this level on the daily chart, right? 764 area was my level. Now that we've found that level, we go to an intraday chart. Now, there's a lot to learn here, so pay very close attention, right? When we're intraday trading, I like to use the 1 day, 1 minute in the first 15 minutes. We'll get to that in just a second. And after the first 15 minutes, I like to use the 5 day, 5 minute the rest of the time. Now there's strategies you can find, bull flags and whatever else on the 15 minute, on the 30 minute, on the 1 hour, whatever it may be. My personal edge of choice is the 5 day, 5 minute for the majority of the day. And this is why, right? It gives us a little clearer picture. I think the candles, give a lot more clear picture of price action. And then we see stuff like this, right? We go to here and we notice that we came down on this 5 day, 5 minute chart, right? Came down to close to the 765 area, right? So when we came down to 764.8, the 764 area, I got in here, right? And again, I found this from the 1 year, 1 day chart. So we find our big macro picture levels on the big charts, such as the daily. Then we apply them when we're day trading onto the 5 day, 5 minute or the 1 day, 1 minute, depending on what time of the day it is. So got in here, came down to 765 area, got down to 764 right here, touched 764.8, right here, had a nice bounce up all the way to 770, pretty much 774, 9-point move. Now, again, this is really important too. The reason I like these smaller time frames, the 5 day, 5 minute or the 1 day, 1 minute, is that it gives us a clear picture every time we come down, especially on bouncing stocks. I love the phrase, my personal phrase I tell the Discord every single day when we're looking at stocks or looking at bounces, is that the second bounce is always weaker. So we come down to the 5 day, 5 minute, 1 day, 1 minute, touch here. This is where we get it, right? Have a nice 9-point move up. And then after that, in the midst of somewhere here, someone asked me, they said, Jacob, if we come down to 765, 764 again, should I buy the bounce, right? And the answer is no. Now, why is that? Because typically speaking, think of it in terms of market psychology, human psychology, okay? When we're buying that bounce, we want buyers to step in. Stocks go up when buyers step in. However, if we bounce right here once, we come up, we come down again, there's less of a probability that we're going to bounce up because those same buyers that were there before obviously couldn't sustain the rally, so there's going to be less buyers the next time. Now, that goes for a 5 day, 5 minute or a 1 day, 1 minute intraday picture. For example, we go back here to the 1 year, 1 day. If we're looking at macro support, right? That 2 to 3 touches is great. Each of these touches is clearing out sellers each time for a massive move up. Again, a lot of times, we look at this picture again, a lot of times that resistance turns to support, and these touches on a macro picture chart would make it stronger. We're forming a stronger support. Whereas on an intraday chart, we're coming down, looking for a few point bounce. These touches are actually making us weaker most of the time, right? A lot of times we'll touch these levels. We have another really good example of this coming up in just a second. A lot of times we'll touch these levels, and each touch, we're getting weaker and weaker, looking like we want to flush down. Now that was our example on Tesla. So on the next trade, we're gonna start with the 1 day, 1 minute chart and go over what happened exactly. So we got a QQQ, and the trade was on a 340 bounce. Now you see here, these first 15 minutes, let's look about it and let's talk about it. So it goes run here, 5, 10 to 15, right around this bounce. So we notice that, and this is kind of a bounce lesson too, okay? Our level we were watching for was 340. Right, we bounced here at 340.5. We bounced again slowly at 340.3, again at 340.28, 340.24. Then we finally bounced at 340. We still took this as a team, but it was less probability because we've had all these micro bounces before, and we were running out of buyers by the second. That's why we see this 340 bounce. Sure, we made a little bag off it, but we only got $1 of move because more than likely these buyers have been getting exhausted. Now, the reason I like using the 1 day, 1 minute chart for the first 15 minutes is if we were using the 5 day, 5 minute chart, right? Let's look at this. We can't really gauge a lot of, those little bounces that are coming in on, like we saw on the 1 day, 1 minute. If we were just watching this, right? We have this first candle, we have the second candle, whatever, but I really like to see that price action and where buyers are wanting and sellers are wanting to shift the market sentiment on the first open of the day, because that a lot of times, sets the direction for the next 15 to 30 minutes after that. So, there's different strategies where after the first 15 minutes, I like to use orbs, I like to do other things, bull flags and so on. But as far as scalping off the open, I love the first, the 1 day, 1 minute chart. I like looking at the volume we see. I like seeing these little, micro bounces, how these candles end up and, in relation to volume and so on. So that was trade 2. And we notice too, if we're looking at the 1 day, 1 minute chart, that after this 340 bounce, we come up, we can't sustain that, we're running out of fuel. After we break that support, we have a monster candle down. Now I think we see that in the 5 day, 5 minute chart too as well. We see here, bounce that 340 level, which is a very key level, go up, have this bearish candlestick down. Then once we break this with volume, we have an absolute rocket down. That's another confirmation that our support level was right. When support breaks, it turns to resistance. So again, we buy calls at support, and once we break that support, we buy puts below to short down. Vice versa, we hit resistance up top, we buy puts, we break that resistance over, we buy calls. So now that we've talked about the 1 year, 1 day finding trends, the 1 day, 1 minute for the first 15 minutes of the market, and my personal favorite, the 5 day, 5 minute the rest of the day, where does the hourly come in? Well, the hourly chart, as we see here, comes in pre-market. Now, I use the hourly chart after looking at the daily chart for finding a lot of my supports and resistances. Now, there's no really actual factual reason why I do this. I found it to be the best, most successful. I found it to show the most trend pre-market. And for example, right today on Facebook, my level on Facebook was over this 205 area. I think it was 205.04 to be exact, because right before the market opened, we see here on the 5 day, 5 minute, would have seen the same thing on the 1 day, 1 minute. We made a high right here over 205.2. So I made the level a bit higher, make sure the bid's cleared, so on. However, the point of what I'm saying is that on the 1 hour chart, I find a lot of levels of support and resistance pre-market. That's how I find all the bounces and if you're in the Discord, you've come to love, and so on. So that being said, let's recap. 1 year, 1 day to find trends, to find overall macro picture of support and resistance. 1 hour chart for pre-market finding levels. In my opinion, that's how I use it. 1 day, 1 minute chart for the first 15 or so minutes of trading. Then 5 day, 5 minute chart for the rest of the time. Now again, hopefully this little video helped. I teach for free every single day, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay in tune. Keep learning with me. We trade live every single day in our premium Discord. The link is in the description. Hope you all have the best night, best day, and best year. You guys rock. Team Bull to the moon. Adios. Take care.